Hey everybody, it's Brooke with The Buttered Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. Today we start March off with some wonderful, just wonderful, and I can't think of another word. I'm looking forward to spring and summer. So we are starting off March in a fresh and delicious way. That's what I should have said, with a month full of wonderful recipes. We're going to start off today with showing you a beautiful appetizer that can be made ahead of time or at the last minute. All it needs is just a good 30-minute steep time in the fridge, and it's easy and delicious. You'll wonder why you haven't made this at home. Now, if you like to go to the Mexican restaurant, your local Mexican restaurant like we do, one of my favorite things is Pico de Gallo, and we love to make pico at home. I make it and it doesn't last long. So just like all of our other recipes, this one is real easy to double, triple, or half if you're feeding a smaller crowd. But it just has some really basic fresh ingredients, and we're going to talk about each one as well as show you how to prep them today. So this is a dump mix recipe. It's hard to consider it a recipe at all. It's more of a method. So we're going to show you how to put it all together for some really tasty and fresh pico that you can have in your home anytime. Let's move the camera and we'll show you how to get it together. Okay, so literally all you need for this recipe is just a few ingredients and about 5 or 10 minutes of prep time. Most of the work is done when we combine all of these beautiful ingredients and they are allowed to steep together in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. So we're going to talk about these ingredients and how you can do this any time of the year. So I have some fresh off the vine tomatoes, okay, and these are kind of hard to find. Well, they're not. I mean, let's just be honest. You can find them in the grocery store, but they lack something. They're not just like what we get in the grocery store. I mean, what we grow at home. But I have found that you can buy pretty good tomatoes that are all stuck together on the vine, and that's what I've done here. Another alternative to doing this when tomatoes are not in season are to use Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes are meatier. They don't have a lot of seeds in them, and they're perfect to use in soup, stews, and things like pico because you don't have as many seeds. But one of the ways that I like to make this is to show you how to get a lot of the seeds out as well. So that's more the method that we're going to be talking about today. One of the things that you'll want to remember is that everything needs to be about the same size. One of the beautiful things about pico is that it's petite. Everything is really petite. So if you're not too swift on knife skills, you can use one of those handy plunger choppers and get everything just chopped just a little bit. But we're going to use these on the vine tomatoes, and I'm just going to show you really quickly what I do to get the majority of the seeds out of them. So I cut each end off, and then I will cut that tomato in half, okay? And you'll notice by doing that, you have all the seeds here, and they should be fairly easy to get out. Now, I love using just a regular tablespoon, and because you can pivot and kind of get down in there, and it also is good that if you need to slice some of that membrane, you can use the point and get that membrane out, okay? Now, you don't have to do this. You can leave it as is and seeds and all. But if you have people who don't like tomatoes or they cannot eat tomatoes due to the seeds, this is a great way. You can say, hey, I made some really good pico and I seeded my tomatoes. So if they have a problem digesting the seeds, then you're kind of taking care of that for them. Now, one thing I want you to notice is to be sure and look, because you'll oftentimes have little bitty seed fragments hidden in the back of that stem. So you can scrape that out And you can also just take your fingers and carefully just pop that whole stem out and scrape out those tomatoes. What we want to be left with is the flesh of the tomato. And I do not peel these. I leave the peeling, the skins. I leave the skins on because that allows it to hold up just a little bit better. So now you have prepped your tomatoes, and I'm just going to do these other two a little quicker, and I'll try to slow down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But it's really easy. Seeding tomatoes doesn't have to be difficult, doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need any special equipment. A spoon works just fine. So again, we just cut those in half, and then we just take our spoon and we pop that out. Then we take that woody membrane out, leaving as much of that flesh as we can. Let's set it to the side. Or if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you don't even have to use a spoon. You can just slip your thumb in there and make a mess, because this is messy kitchen, and just pop all that out, which my hands are already wet and messy. So let's go ahead and just do it. It's a little faster, but sometimes you don't want to. My hands are clean, and if you're doing this for a crowd and you're just not sure, it's always best just to use a spoon, especially during these weird times we're living in with all the germs everywhere. But this is for my family, like all of the food that we cook here. And they know that while I'm a messy cook, I'm a clean cook. All right, so now I'm just going to take these and discard them. If you wanted to, you could put these into a blender and pulverize it and use that to tomato flavor a soup or something like that. And I don't believe in discarding a lot of everything. So, all right. So now we're just going to chop those tomatoes to a good little bite-sized piece. And I always like to do this in matchsticks first. And then we'll line the little matchsticks up. And y'all, I promise I'm doing this a lot slower than I do it in reality, but it's just so you can kind of see the method. And when you're handling a knife, slower is really always better, so that you don't mess up and get the tip of your finger. All right, so now I'm gonna pop those in my Tupperware dish. And we'll slide through these tomatoes pretty fast. And I don't know about you, but prepping vegetables for things like this, I so enjoy it. It's therapeutic, and I get a lot out of it. It's almost like baking for me, like when you knead bread. It just really kind of grounds me. Cooking should be relaxing. Cooking should not be hard. Cooking should be something that you do for pleasure. It should be not just a necessity to live. I think that's one of the things that draws me to creating new recipes or showing you recipes that are not new. I know I share a lot of stuff that's traditional and that you probably already have a recipe for, but my main goal here in doing all this is to kind of rekindle something in people. Even cooks who've been cooking a long time, I have found that I share recipes that they haven't made in a while and that they forgot about. And it brings back happy memories and peaceful thoughts. And it's just cooking. It's therapeutic. It's nostalgic. It's just a beautiful, wonderful thing. And it should be. It should never be a chore. So let's just get the rest of these guys done. I probably should have had some of them done before we started, but I was like, no, I'm going to show them. I'm going to go through the whole method. Otherwise, this would be a short video and not as interesting. Okay, our next ingredient we're going to talk about, and I'm going to go ahead and start talking about it while I'm finishing up this last tomato, is the jalapeno pepper. Now, proceed with caution, guys. Jalapeno peppers, whenever you prep them, they tend to stay with you for a while. So if you, I'll just be honest with you, I don't love using gloves when I cook for my family at home unless I'm handling raw meat. And but gloves for things like jalapenos are important. They if you're prone to touch your nose or your eyes or anything on your face, you're going to want to make sure that you use a glove. So what I've done is I have prepped my jalapenos. This recipe calls for 2 whole jalapenos. And I have prepped these just to show you, and I've left one undone so that I can show you how I prep these. Now, if you don't have gloves, then I would get a paper towel, and we're going to cut the ends off of the jalapenos and then slice them diagonally in half. Then you're going to hold that jalapeno half in your hand, either a gloved hand or a paper towel. Now, the jalapeno pepper itself is not hot. This membrane and these seeds are. And if you touch them, you're going to want to immediately wash your hands and then take special care not to touch your face, your eyes, your nose, your ears, your mouth for a good little while, because some of that, I'm not sure, I think it's probably capsaicin, will stay on your skin because this emits oil, and that is what makes this hot. So just like our tomato, we just use a tablespoon, and then we go in and we just pop that membrane out and scrape it down into our paper towel. That is the hot portion. So now you can handle the rest of this with your bare hands once you get that membrane out, and you don't have to worry. However, as a disclaimer, I would urge you to still behave as if you did get some on your hands. So we're going to do the same thing with these guys. We're just going to cut those into matchsticks, and then we will just dice them up about the same size as we did our tomatoes. And I'll move those over here so you can see. And it really doesn't take long. Jalapenos are great. They don't have to just make recipes hot. Now, without the seeds and the membrane, they do add just a tad bit of spice, but it's spice in the way of just interesting flavor. Now, again, just like with the tomatoes, if you're not afraid of heat and you want this really to be really good and really hot, then leave the seeds and the membrane. It won't hurt anything. A lot of people like their pico hot and spicy, but I kind of feel like spice how I do with salt. I err on the side of let's leave it out, and then if people want it, we can give them some other means of getting it and adding it to their food, because you can always add it. You can't always take it away. So I might take this recipe and add a little hot sauce to it, or split it and add a little hot sauce to it and label it and say hot pico and regular pico. All right, so now we have a red onion. Now you can use any other kind of onion that you want. However, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you want to add heat without adding a lot of heat, use red onion. If you want to add interest and color to your food, use red onion or purple onion. There's some debate on what color it actually is. But we're going to add in anywhere from half a cup to 2/3 a cup. We like a lot of onions, so we kind of lean toward the 2/3 a cup option for the onion addition to our pico. But that's the great thing about this recipe, is you can add as much or as little as you like. It's your preference. That's why I say things like this, you know, it's a loose recipe. You can do lots of things to this to make it your own. And we're cutting our onions, you know, about the same size as everything else. So I'm going to chop through these just really quickly. Oh, and by all means, if you didn't want to use a knife like me, you can use a chopper. Just make sure if you use a chopper that you don't just chop this stuff to death and pulverize it and turn it into liquid. Otherwise, you'll need to make some onion dressing with your onion like I did last week. Red onion dressing, wouldn't that be interesting? I think Vidalia is always going to be better because it's sweet. But you can chop this stuff in a automated chopper and it be too much. You can chop it too much. I'm a little old-fashioned. I like the feel of the knife running through it. And two, this needs to be a little rustic, and what better way to have just a slight variation and difference in the texture of the food than by doing it with regular manual knife chops. But the best way is to do it your way, whatever makes your life easier and gets you in the kitchen cooking. Okay, so we have mixed our tomatoes, our jalapenos, and our onion. So now we're going to add in some of the flavor profile. I like to add in about a half a teaspoon of salt and about a quarter teaspoon of pepper. Again, if you are using the seed and the membrane of your jalapeno, you can leave the pepper out. This just adds a nice little bit of spice to it. And then we're just going to stir that up. The salt will actually help the tomatoes and the pepper and the onion release its own liquid so that you have just enough liquid in here to take the salt and the pepper and the cilantro and the mint that we're going to add, and it lets it marinate the vegetables. So now we're going to talk about cilantro. You can get a huge bunch of this at most grocery stores for less than $1 most times. We like to use about 2 tablespoons. Now, cilantro usually comes in a tied bunch. You want to make sure that you don't get any stem in there. So if you can, about 2 tablespoons would be just probably about the size of your finger. So you could just separate out about the size of your finger here, and then simply take your knife and just scrape it off. And what this does is this leaves your stem, if you just do it ever so lightly, and get your leaves. Then you've not compromised the whole bunch of your cilantro, and you can have it for more. And then I just take it and run my knife through it. So most people know this already, but cilantro either tastes like soap to you or it doesn't. And that is due to your body's own pH and reaction to acidity. So for me, cilantro does taste like soap, but it doesn't taste like I'm eating soap. It just tastes like a little soapy, but when you pair it with all of these other flavors, it really just doesn't taste bad. So we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped cilantro in. And then we are going to, and I apologize, I don't have it ready. I got to get it. I meant to get it out. If you're not a huge cilantro fan, this is what helps you on your cilantro right here. And it's the addition of mint. Yes, mint. We're going to add in just the leaves of probably about 3 little florets of mint. And I like to tear mint because it bruises it and releases that oil. Now what the mint does is the mint will almost counterbalance that cilantro. So if you are cilantro soap flavor sensitive, this will help with that. So we add that in, and now what helps dress the whole thing is 1 lime. So we're going to juice our lime, and I like to do limes and lemons, things like that, about like how I'd like to do my eggs. I always crack my eggs into a separate vessel, and we're going to do that with our lime for this as well. This way you can easily filter out any seeds that you might get. Now I'm taking this lime, and with the heel of my hand, I'm warming it up and just massaging it on my cutting board. So this helps the juice release and will make this process a little bit easier. So we just invest a little time in that, and then I'm going to slice my lime in half. And then I've got a little wooden juicer, but you can certainly just do this with your hands. I'm getting older and I find that my grip is not as good. So the $2 investment in this little juicer has been a game changer for me. But I also have another juicer that I can lay the lime and lemon on top of and apply pressure with the top of my hand. But this, you just run it through, and then you can squeeze it, and it gets, with its pointed tip, it gets in there and it really expels all that juice in the whole cavity of the lime. Now you could also zest this and add a little zest here, but we're going to use the juice of the whole lime, so I'm going to leave the zest out because I got enough green with the mint and the cilantro in there that we should be good. All right, so now I'm all about no special tools needed, right? So I'm going to show you how to get the lime juice in here without getting too much pulp or seeds, and you're just going to use your clean hand. So these 4 fingers, barely separated, can act as a really good filter, and you can just open them ever so slightly and then close it and shake that in there, and then all the pulp is in your hand. Now it's not foolproof. Some pulp may get through, and that's okay. But what you're left with is the majority of the juice of the lime. So see, I told y'all this is more method than anything else. It's beautiful, it's good just like this, but I like to pop a top on it and let it steep in the fridge after a good shake for about 30 minutes. So we're going to let that happen, and then we're going to come back and show you how beautiful this is and how fresh and delicious and how easily you can have pico anytime you want it to. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we are back, and our pico has steeped in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. And longer is better. Overnight is really the best. But if you just need it and you need it soon, 30 minutes is great. Look at how beautiful that is. It's gorgeous. It's pleasing to the eyes. You can see every ingredient in it, so you know what you're getting. And better than that, it tastes fresh and bright and a little spicy. And if you wanted to make it even spicier, you could add some hot sauce to it. Fantastic. It's great. Now let's talk about this. This is for more than just chips. We like to make shrimp and serve it cold. So I will cook some shrimp and then usually put it like on a bed of rice, warm rice, cold shrimp, and a little bit of pico. Oh, y'all, you can do all kind of things with this. It's great on potatoes. It's great on just about any kind of meat. And if you're having a family taco night, like Taco Tuesday, this is something you're going to want to have. It also makes a great hot dog topping. Yes, it does. How about dressing your hot dogs up with a little bit of fresh and a little zip of this pico anytime you want it? But the best way to have it is just on a chip. So we urge you to make this as an appetizer or as any kind of fancying up, even your old hot dogs on a Monday night if you want to. This pico, just like all of our other recipes, can be found over at thebutteredhome.com. You can double this, you can half it, whatever you want to do, and you can do something even better. You can take it and you can make it your own, and that's what we're in the business of here at The Buttered Home. We want you to think about cooking and think about ways that you can enjoy cooking and fellowshipping with those people that you love. As always, be sure you're following us on all of our social media channels. We have a lot of fun and a lot of things we share all through the week. We would love for you to join us with that. And as always, if you want all of our videos in one place, be sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so that you can be notified when we drop new videos like this one. Y'all, let's see. I got to get creative. Maybe I'll just eat these chips and pico and think about a way to use the rest of these for supper tonight. Anyway, from the Buttered Home to your home, we love y'all. Bye.